Right now at noon, we are remembering Pope Francis. The pontiff's body was placed in an open coffin in the chapel of the Santa Marta residence where he lived during his papacy. We are also learning new information about his funeral, which will be held on Saturday. We have team coverage from Rome to New York. Devlin is outside St. Patrick's Cathedral, where a special mass is underway. But we start with our Tony Aiello live at the Vatican this afternoon. Tony.
Cindy, security is already tightening in and around the Vatican, preparing for the huge crowds expected to pay respects to Pope Francis. Public visitation starting Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Rome time. Catholic cardinals are gathering at the Vatican to finalize plans to honor Pope Francis and eventually choose his successor. Senior clergy and Vatican officials paid their respects to Francis Tuesday during an intimate service at the Santa Marta Hotel, where he laid in a coffin, adorned in a red robe and papal mitre. The first images of the late pontiff came on the same day Vatican officials announced his funeral will be held Saturday in St. Peter's Square.
There is a sense of a void that is somehow going to have to be filled. But coupled with that immediately is also the intrigue of what comes next.
The 88-year-old who died Easter Monday after a stroke that caused heart failure left behind specific instructions for a simple burial at Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major, with a one-word inscription on his tomb, Franciscus, his name in Latin. There will be chanting in Latin as Pope Francis's body is moved in a solemn procession on Wednesday from Santa Marta to St. Peter's Basilica, where he will lie in state until the funeral and burial.
Pope Francis almost had like a radar for people who were left behind.
CBS Evening News co-anchor Maurice Dubois spoke with Cardinal Timothy Devlin, who was part of the conclave that selected Pope Francis 12 years ago.
They're going to see some mourning, they're going to see some gratitude, they're going to see some hope, and then they're going to see people say we need to get to work.
The cardinals will be choosing a date after Saturday's funeral to begin their conclave to elect the church's next leader. So the list is growing. Heads of state and government who will be in Rome for Saturday's funeral. President Trump and the First Lady will be here, along with Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, and he will be accompanied by the heir to the throne, Prince William. Cindy.
Tony, I know 2025 is a so-called Jubilee year where many Catholics make a special effort to visit Rome, and I imagine the death of the Pope has had a big impact on the Jubilee.
Well, it has, because people come here and they want to see the Pope even as they walk through the Holy Door at St. Peter's. But also, this was going to be a very special weekend, the canonization of a 15-year-old Italian boy, Carlo Acutis. He died in 2006. The Pope was going to canonize him on Sunday, and there were some 80,000 teenagers from Italy, Europe, and across the world who were expected to gather here in Rome for that canonization. Many of them are still here, and there will be special events geared towards the teenage pilgrims in Rome for the Jubilee year.
Tony Aiello, live at the Vatican. Tony, thank you very much. And parishioners are gathering at St. Patrick's Cathedral for a second day of Mass following Pope Francis's death. Cardinal Timothy Devlin leading one of his last prayer services before heading to Rome. Devlin is live outside St. Patrick's Cathedral with more. Alan.
And that Mass just began a few minutes ago here on 5th Avenue, one of the many scheduled this week, each of them having a heightened and deeper meaning following the death of Pope Francis. And like you just said, New York City Mayor Eric Adams is arrived. He had arrived here, scheduled to attend today's Mass. Here's video of him walking in just moments ago. Adams has spoken on Pope Francis' death, saying he is mourning with more than 1 billion Catholics around the world, and in a statement released yesterday, highlighted the trip he took to Vatican City last year to actually meet with Pope Francis. The Pope died early Monday morning Eastern time from a cerebral stroke and corresponding heart failure. The Catholic leader's death sending millions of New Yorkers into mourning, some of which showed up here today at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Here's what they had to say before the Mass.
We're sad, but we're so thankful for his life and everything that he did for the world.
The Pope was a great person. I know that he was suffering and he was sick, so I think it's good that he's finally at peace now.
We have a lot to be thankful for his presence on earth, and hopefully we get another wonderful leader. And hopefully this helps bring people closer together.
A lot of great words in memory of Pope Francis. Like I just said, that Mass is going on inside the church right now. We are expected to be speaking with Cardinal Devlin as well as New York City Mayor Eric Adams. We'll have more from them coming up on CBS News New York at 5 p.m. this evening. For now, we are live outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown Manhattan. Alan Devlin, CBS News New York.
Alan, thank you. The church is now preparing to elect a new pope in just a few weeks in a process known as conclave. Cardinals will gather in top secret at the Vatican City chapel to cast their votes. So how does it work? First, the electors are chosen. These are cardinals who are less than 80 years old, and there are only 120 spots. Once the electors are decided, a special mass is held. The electoral cardinals pledge on a Bible an oath of secrecy. Each cardinal then writes his choice on a piece of paper and places it in a large chalice. Those votes are opened and read aloud. It takes a two-thirds majority for a pope to be chosen. After the counting, the ballots are burned in a furnace. The smoke will appear black if a pope has not been chosen and white if he has. In past centuries, papal elections typically took weeks, but it could happen sooner. Stay with CBS News New York on air and online for continuing coverage as we look back on the life and legacy of Pope Francis.